What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Jermaine Event, Main on MMA. Today we are going to check out a video from Ragdoll MMA, the YouTube channel Ragdoll MMA. This video is about potential fixed fights in MMA, dives, works, and fixed fights in MMA. This is a part one of the video. And I feel like with the recent Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, people were like, well, pretty much anytime Jake Paul fights, people are saying that it's fixed. But people even were saying that they felt like Neil Magny took a dive when he fought Carlos Praetis, which I personally think is pretty ridiculous. I thought Carlos Praetis was going to do exactly what he did in that fight. So let's check out this fight. Let's check out this video from Ragdoll MMA on potential rigged fights in MMA. And I'll give you guys my thoughts at the end. That's crazy.
In MMA, we expect blood, sweat, and unrelenting competition. But not every fight delivers the real deal. Today, we uncover the murky world of fixed fights, dives, and works in...
Yeah, I know most things with that guy. With Bob Sapp works. I say a lot of the stuff in Japan were like known works. I like to think that most of the stuff we see these days are on the up and up.
MMA history. Before we dive into the controversies, let's clear up the terminology. What's the difference between a worked fight, a dive, and a fix? Worked fight. This is when both fighters agree beforehand on the outcome of the match. It's essentially a predetermined spectacle, like pro wrestling, where the drama is scripted. Dive. In a dive, only one fighter is in on the plan. They lose intentionally, without the knowledge or consent of their opponent, often to cash in on a bet or under pressure. Fix. A fix involves external manipulation, where judges, referees, or others are...
He's throwing some pretty good images in here to go with these terms. There's interesting boxing matches there.
Paid off to ensure a specific outcome. This kind of corruption directly undermines the integrity of the entire sport. In this category, we can probably include most of Sherdog's Robbery of the Year awards. However, the chances of having any of those proven to be a fix is quite slim, because getting involved into a dive, a work of a fix,
that's fucking illegal.
Now that we understand the difference, let's explore the most infamous fights suspected of being a work. Don Frye versus Mark Hall, UFC Ultimate 1996. Frye and Hall had faced each other before in an intense clash at UFC 10, in a 10-minute brawl that saw Don Frye as a winner. But in this match, 6 months later, in December 96, Hall tapped out in just over a minute to an odd-looking heel hook in order to Don Frye to advance the tournament with 0 damage. Big John McCarthy details the bout on his autobiography.
That takedown
in their first
was
encounter,
crazy.
Frye had beaten the piss out of
He
Hall.
kind of went to the ground
to give up. Here, though, Frye ankle-locked Hall to advance to the finals without breaking a sweat. The fight struck me as odd. Frye, a bread-and-butter wrestler and swing-for-the-fences puncher, had never won a fight by leg lock, and Hall practically fell into the submission.
Yeah, he fell.
I also knew both fighters were managed by the same guy. According to the book, No Holds Barred, Ultimate Fighting and the Martial Arts Revolution by Clyde Gentry, in September 1997, Mark Hall revealed to the fight world what really happened that night. According to Hall, powerhouse manager Robert DiPersia, a man who guided the careers of both Hall and Frye, had demanded he throw the fight.
What?
Well, Mark, sometimes you do what you have to do, Hall claims DiPersia told him. We're a team. This is Don's day, not yours.
Wow.
I'm gonna come.
Anthony Macias versus Oleg Taktarov, UFC 6. Macias and Taktarov were training partners, and Macias later revealed he felt pressured to lose due to shared management with Taktarov. Macias, a striker, immediately initiated a grappling exchange and fell into a guillotine choke in 9 seconds. Oleg's quick victory allowed him to preserve energy for his finals bout against Tank Abbott, which he won. At a time where fighters were scheduled to fight twice, or sometimes 3 times per night, it's not uncommon to have a situation like this. This example illustrates the behind-the-scenes coercion that
He
can
knew
lead
it
to
was
a work
nonsense.
where fighters' careers are manipulated by external forces. Listen to what the commentary team had to say immediately after the bout.
Wow, is that quick? I don't think Macias wanted to be in there.
Wow.
We got to be honest. You have to wonder. No, you got to be honest.
Yeah, you got it.
Big
That's
John McCarthy
crazy.
described the fight in his book, quote, "During the semifinal match between Oleg Taktarov and Anthony Macias, I believe I saw my first fixed fight in the UFC. Both fighters had the same manager, Buddy Albin, so I think it was decided backstage that Macias would throw the match so Oleg could advance to the finals and face Tank Abbott as fresh as possible. The fight went a little too smoothly for my tastes when Macias shot in and nearly fell into the guillotine choke, which he tapped out to in 12 seconds.
Askren is boxing very bad at John Paul, it's blogger. I don't like it. It's not sport, it's showtime, yeah.
Alexander Emelianenko versus Eddie Bengtson at M1 Global. We can all agree, seeing a fighter taking a dive without even being hit is the best sign we have just watched a fixed bout. Even though this sounds stupid, there have been many MMA bouts in which we saw this scenario taking place. Well, we must say it again. Fixing a fight and taking a dive is not an easy thing to do. This is not something you practice in training with the partner, and it often doesn't go as planned. And you just can't go against your survival instincts with thousands of people roaring in the arena. Let me explain it to you using a simple example. We fixed a fight between Smith and Marco, where Marco must take a dive in the first round. Obviously, Marco knows about the plan while Smith does not have a clue about it. Fight begins. Marco knows he must provoke Smith to attack and land some punches so that he can go down. But we are halfway into the round and Smith is not throwing anything. He is hesitating much and still measuring his range. As time goes by, the pressure on Marco's shoulders is getting bigger and bigger. He made a deal with the devil. There's huge money on the line. Thousands are watching. He must go down. Smith finally moves in, and it looks like an ideal chance for Marco to finally pay his dues. But due to survival instincts, he can't just drop his hands and get KO'd. Instead, he feels a strike has landed around the guard and goes down. But in reality, Smith didn't even touch him. As a result, we have something that looks like this.
I got knocked out.
Were you hurt?
But it's for us. This is high. It's like a little jab.
Yeah, it felt like that for me too on the face. But
this is #1 bullshit.
Nobuhiko Takada versus Mark Coleman, Pride FC.
Oh man.
One fight that almost certainly was fixed was Mark Coleman's submission loss to Nobuhiko Takada at Pride 5 in 1999. Takada was the owner and booker of pro wrestling organization Hustle, which had close ties to Pride at the time, and also provided a platform for Coleman's pro wrestling endeavors away from MMA. Coleman was the far superior fighter, and was in the driving seat before standing still for a suspiciously long time, while Takada put a heel hook submission together.
No. He's giving it, what the hell? Oh, no. Coleman's got to pull, he's got to get out. He's got to get out of this.
Oh, no.
There's no, what?
What?
Wait a minute, he's oh no! I don't believe this. How the hell did that happen?
Years later, in an interview with Jonathan Snowden, Coleman stated, "It was what it was. I needed to support my family. They guaranteed me another fight after that, and I needed that security. It was what it was. I'm going to leave it at that."
Then Coleman made two mistakes, you know. One's doing it, and the other was letting somebody know about it who fucking talked about it.
Man, I'm a sexy guy, DC. What's wrong with you, man?
Jiri Prochazka versus Satoshi Ishii. Among the many battles in Japanese MMA,
Jiri?
some have faced accusations of being less than genuine. One more recent bout in the Reason promotion that raised eyebrows was between Olympic judo gold medalist Satoshi Ishii and rising Czech star Jiri Prochazka. An explosive and versatile striker, Jiri attempted a high kick that appeared to knock Ishii down, while simultaneously slipping on the floor. On closer inspection, however, the out-of-balance kick seemed to land on his elbow, making fans speculate Ishii took a dive. Prochazka, probably unaware that he was taking...
What fucking sport am I watching? What have I been covering? It's been wrestling this whole time.
Taking part in a worked fight, proceeded to finish the gold medalist with some very legitimate knees to the head.
Wow.
This guy can't even put a fucking sentence together, man. Are you kidding me right now? He's reaching for those grapes. He's trying to make his wine, and the wine's already sounding like a violin with that cheese and wine.
What? What?
We'll see on November 24th.
The James Krause case, Darrick Minner versus Shailin Nuerdanbeka. In November 2022, a storm brewed in the UFC when suspicious betting patterns surrounding a featherweight bout at UFC Vegas 64 put the spotlight on former fighter turned coach James Krause.
Tell you what, he's a better coach than he is a fighter, for sure, and he is a phenomenal fighter.
The fight in question featured Darrick Minner, coached by Krause, against Shailin Nuerdanbeka. The controversy began when sportsbooks noticed an unusual surge in betting activity favoring Nuerdanbeka to win by TKO, with odds shifting dramatically just hours before the fight. This raised suspicions, especially when Minner appeared to injure his leg early in the fight, leading to a quick TKO victory for Nuerdanbeka. What most likely happened is that James Krause, knowing the extent of his fighter's injury, tipped his followers to bet heavily against Minner. As he clearly was not fit to fight, the Nevada State Athletic Commission launched an investigation, suspending Krause's coaching license. The UFC, in a decisive move, banned any fighters associated with Krause from competing, emphasizing its zero-tolerance policy on fight integrity breaches. The scandal not only led to Minner's release from the UFC, but also prompted several sportsbooks to suspend betting on UFC events temporarily, particularly in Canada. For a deep-down investigation on this topic, I highly suggest GK's own video on the matter.
I'm gonna check that out because I'm curious what's going down. Oh, that's a 20-minute video. We'll see.
You're homosexual and you're proud of it. So, man, good for you.
Honorable mention, Bob Sapp. Bob Sapp is a legend in his own sense. In his prime, he fought 63 times in kickboxing and mixed martial arts combined. Despite his size, Sapp has never been a dominant force in either sport, with losing records in both kickboxing and mixed martial arts. His name has been turned into a joke in his late career after multiple accusations of fight fixing, typically collapsing at the first sight of danger, as you see on screen.
Yes. Hamza be killing that shit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Part 1 of dives, works, and fixed fights in MMA. And it's pretty damning, to say the least here, man. What sport are we watching? Is this WWE or are these real fights? Are we watching a real competition? I believe we have to be to some point. You know what I'm saying? I believe we have to be to some point. But I guess one would be naive to feel like it's happened right in our face with like James Krause and all this. It's happened in our face very recently. So it would be foolish to feel like it can't happen any other time. You know, what if Davis and Figueiredo was like, oh, I have a prop bet to hit this many strikes, so I'm just going to throw no fucking strikes for the first 2 rounds. I'm just guessing why Davis and Figueiredo didn't throw strikes for the first 2 rounds. Anywho, that was a pretty cool video though, but honestly pretty shocking to see Jiri Prochazka in there. Man, some legends in there. Frye, Mark Coleman. This sport, man. This sport. But what do you guys think? Do you think there's more fights in the current era of MMA that we should look at? Some more high-profile fights that may have been fixed. I remember when I watched Anderson Silva versus Michael Bisping, and they called off that knockout. It was like, dude, this fight's over. And then, even with calling it back, I felt like Anderson won that fight regardless, and they gave the fight to Bisping. The fix could be in. We see a lot of bullshit calls with lower level fights. Who's to say? I mean, I remember a friend of mine back in the day, he was like, I was looking at like odds and stuff for like regular season basketball. And he's like, why are you talking about betting odds for regular season basketball? Because I'm like, because these games pay just like playoff basketball. It pays just the same. If you're betting on Kong Wang to lose or whatever, if you're betting on Gabriela Fernandez to win by submission, and you know something, and you fix that fight, and I'm not saying that's all what happened, but if you know that Gabriela Fernandez is going to win that fight via submission, well, bet the fucking house on the, what is it, plus 650 underdog. You bet the house that she's going to win that fight by submission. And you make out like a fucking bandit. You make way more money than you would with the odds of a Davison Figueiredo versus Petr Yan, which is relatively close. There's crazy odds all the time for little fights that basically only I watch. Only like me and 300 other people on Twitter are watching. You know? There's crazy odds for all those fights. The fix could definitely be in for MMA and boxing alike. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the fix is in, or do you think everything is on the up and up? Let me know in the comments. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will see you guys when I see you. I'll holla.